Hello everybody. As you can see by my screen here, today I'm going to be talking about Linux. Linux is a family of open source Unix-like operating systems that are all based on the Linux kernel, which is basically what Linux is itself. The first Linux system kernel to first ever get released was on September 17th, 1991, and it was made by Linus Torvalds. Linux it gets packaged in Linux distributions. Basically, what Linux distributions are basically what keeps Linux inside of it so it can be as an actual operating system. So people can basically use the Linux kernel to make their own operating systems that all are based off Linux. Some of the most popular Linux distributions or distros are as follows, which are Arch Linux, Linux Mint, Fedora Linux, and Ubuntu, which is probably the most popular Linux kernel or popular Linux distro right now out. And they're all used for different kind of tasks and uses. Linux is one of the most used operating systems, or it's one of the most, but it's not the most used. And it's probably the second most used operating system in the world right now. And it's also very, very popular on server PCs. So if you have a server, it's very well used for Linux. Linux was just made to be used or just to work on Type 86 architecture based computers, but now it has been ported so many times that it can be used with any kind of hardware, any kind of computer basically. It can be even used on non computers like devices or anything. And it's also ported on the top 500 most fastest supercomputers in the world. The Linux kernel is widely usable. They can basically use it on any kind of computer, no matter how old it is, no matter how fast it is, or how slow it is. It can be used on basically any kind of computer. And it can even range from being used on mobile ARM chips or ARM chips to even being used in supercomputers, like I said before. And they can even be used on chips that are even as bad as 16-bit microprocessors. And it can also be used on all of the Mac systems, even the ones with the new M chips that are in them. Linux has a reputation of being a very easy hardware to run, like I said earlier, that no matter how old your computer is or how slow it is, it can basically run on the computer perfectly. So if you have a very old computer, I'd recommend probably installing Ubuntu Linux on it. Since Linux is open source, it makes it one of the best computers for making any kind of viruses or malware, or best OSs to make malware and any kind of spyware as well. And probably the best distro for making any kind of malware is probably Kali Linux. But that's all I have for today. Bye.